Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Build a Successful Theme Business with myself, Liam Griffin, and Marcus Shoiga from the Shopify ecosystem team. In this webinar, we'll be covering best practices for building, supporting, and maintaining your themes on the Shopify theme store. If you want to familiarize yourself with the features of Online Store 2.0, check out the full Shopify Unite video. And if you missed it, make sure you watch our previous webinar in this series, which introduced the new Shopify theme store and the new developer tools. And you can catch both of those on the Shopify Devs YouTube channel. So over the next 30 minutes, we'll be exploring how to approach designing for Shopify merchants, what the support benefits and responsibilities are for theme developers, and how you can manage theme updates on Shopify. We'll have some time for a Q&A section towards the end of this session, so thanks so much for submitting your questions through the Slido form so far. And to start us off today, Marcus is going to take a look at how to build and design for success on the Shopify theme store.
Thanks very much, Liam. There is certainly a lot to cover in a short space of time, but our intention is that this information, along with other webinars, our developer documentation, and some of our recent and upcoming blog articles will help guide and direct you in creating themes for the Shopify theme store. In this section, I will briefly talk about planning and design, identifying verticals and product gaps that themes can solve for, and a quick walkthrough of some examples of industry-specific design. Of course, each of these topics are far broader than can be covered here in what time we have, but this should at least provide some clear guidance and ensure you're aligned with what the Shopify theme store looks for in themes. As with every project, it should start with planning. Planning a theme is like planning a design system. A theme is where function and form work in harmony to make a store appear unified and cohesive, providing versatility so that stores using the same theme can have a unique, distinct identity. By providing merchants with an intuitive, low-friction, user-friendly experience for establishing their visual identity, as well as leveraging powerful functionality out of the box, means that they can get to market quickly and on their path to success. Coupled with this, a theme also needs to deliver a great customer experience. Each of the following factors are an integral part of creating a successful theme: user experience, both merchant and customer, robust feature sets, relevant settings, performance and accessibility, and all this wrapped up in well-considered, opinionated design. Planning your theme is needed to ensure you deliver on all these fronts, and this may mean several rounds of design, feedback, and iteration, and should have the input of both your developers and designers. Another vital part of this process is to plan your designs and development around various device experiences, essentially desktop and mobile. In this slide, we can see the Dawn theme mockups. Having detailed mockups of the entire purchase journey and for the treatment of all pages greatly assists in creating a cohesive and consistent experience. And this also helps your developers work to a well-defined plan. Next, let me mention the importance of identifying verticals and product gaps. Before sitting down to start the design and development process, it is recommended to first identify what merchant group or industry type the theme is targeting. This will help you make critical decisions on the design, layout, settings, features, and UX. Another key aspect is that themes on the theme store are built to service many merchants. They're not just built for an individual merchant store, but rather for thousands of merchants in a particular category or business vertical. So, research markets, trends, merchant types, and leverage client experience to help you identify who you intend to serve through your theme. It is beyond the scope of this webinar to give direction on how to conduct this research, but we have given some basic industry fit listings in our developer documentation just to give you some ideas. And that leads us into industry-specific design. When planning your theme, it can be tempting to pack in as many settings and feature sets as you can so as to hit a broad a range of merchants as possible. But this can actually undermine the theme's success. By adding in too many settings, you can risk setup fatigue, as well as negatively impact the performance ranking of the theme. Add too few settings, and you may be inundated with customization requests, or worse still, experience no traction with the target audiences, as your theme does not provide essential features those merchants need. Feature sets and settings need to be carefully planned to find the right balance. The key to the balance is what the theme should be implementing natively, such as core Shopify features, with what key elements and custom settings you can offer to make your theme unique and resonate with the target sector. As an example, if you're creating a theme that is aimed at the food and beverage industry, there's likely no need to be including product swatches or size chart related settings. I have selected 2 examples of themes from the Shopify theme store to showcase this in practice. As I would not have the time to go in depth into each of these themes, as that would warrant another entire presentation for each one, I would just give an overview using their demo stores, and I will not delve into the expert curation and delivery of their industry relevant settings and sections within the UX and the editor. These themes are not classed in any order of importance, and they're also just a snapshot of the great range of themes on the Shopify theme store. Firstly, streamlined by archetype themes. The theme is targeted at stores who resonate with and are aimed at millennials and Generation Z. So rather than just targeting the merchant type, they actually focus on the audience the merchant was targeting. It was through extensive research they summarized the traits of this audience. They identified that they spend less time on a page, so have a limited engagement span, not interested in absorbing large amounts of text content. They're mostly active on mobile devices and rate ease of use as a primary driver, as otherwise they would tend to bounce. And so with this audience identified, they developed Streamline, which is well named to indicate the intent of the theme. The design is all about brash, attention-grabbing, dynamic content with focus on quick action flows and ease of use. For example, take note of the navigation placement for easy activation using your thumb on mobile devices. There is reduced display of product details on collection listings. Brash design feel on the product page, particularly call to action buttons. The development also speaks to this focus by delivering fast response times and high performance loading. The theme offers merchants the ability to create a store that is streamlined, concise, and targeted to sell precisely and convincingly to a time and space constrained audience. Next, we have Warehouse by Maestro, and is another theme that displays strong industry and vertical focus. Their research included leveraging thousands of support tickets and feedback from merchants using their themes, as well as clients they have worked with in creating stores. They identified that the target audience of merchants who needed large inventory stores also wanted great promotional and presentational appeal. The targeted verticals were the drop shipping business model, large retail stores, and manufacturers going direct to consumer. In contrast to Streamline, product presentation delivers more focus on details and less focus on imagery, as this would be highly relevant to certain industries as camping and outdoor and electronics, as these business types would seek a large market exposure. Features like currency conversion, shipping estimators, as well as stock levels were to receive strong placement and design consideration. They aimed at a professional aesthetic as the main design driver, and through drawing inspiration from main players in these arenas, as well as their own bespoke flavor, I think they successfully delivered on that. And now I'll hand you back over to Liam.
Thanks, Marcus. Now we're going to explore how to support your theme. One of the main aspects that helps a theme gain traction with merchants is a great customer experience. It is vital for the success of any theme to have reliable, efficient, and dedicated support. Providing support for your theme is considered the most demanding and time-consuming aspect of having a theme listed on the Shopify theme store. The number of support tickets that theme store partners currently handle ranges from between 300 to over 1,000 support tickets per week. This will depend on the number of themes in your catalog, as well as the popularity of your themes. Investing in dedicated support, or at least allocating appropriate bandwidth for support, is key in preventing your business from being quickly overwhelmed by the volume of tickets. All of our current theme partners have dedicated support teams working for them. So what do theme store developers support? You'll need to assist merchants with their theme-related questions, reply to support requests from merchants within 2 business days, Technical issues like broken layout, dead links, and logical errors must be fixed in a timely manner, and critical bugs must be fixed immediately or a theme will be temporarily removed from the Shopify theme store. For more info on what features must be included in your theme, as well as which browser versions must be supported, and performance and accessibility expectations, check out our theme store requirements. There are two main methods for providing support to merchants using your theme. The first is direct support via email, and the second is self-serve support. So being listed on the Shopify theme store requires a partner to have a dedicated support form linked to the theme listings page so that merchants can reach out directly if they encounter any issues when using your theme. Additionally, when merchants contact Shopify support with an issue that is related to a bug or a technical issue on your theme, our support advisors will connect the merchant to your theme via email. We call these interactions a warm handoff, and you're expected to assist merchants that we refer to you when they're experiencing an issue with your theme. If you need to access a merchant's store for deeper troubleshooting, you should use collaborator accounts to request access. Once the support interaction is over and you no longer require access, you should remove access to the store. One strategy to help reduce the level of work for your support team is to invest in providing content that merchants can use to troubleshoot themselves so they can solve issues on their own. If you create documentation that merchants can use to help navigate and solve their own theme issues, you can avoid duplication of work by linking these docs when merchants contact you via support. This self-serve support content could be text-based tutorials that merchants can follow, or could include video tutorials that might be more intuitive for merchants to learn from. To identify which topics to cover in self-serve content, analyze your support interactions to see which issues and questions recur frequently, and create content based on that. It's also helpful to manage your support by creating clear and helpful user guides, as well as an FAQ page. These are great ways to help merchants self-serve and should be regularly updated. A public-facing changelog also helps merchants understand the versioning of a theme and what updates are made. A good rule of thumb is to link your self-serve documentation at the end of every support interaction so that merchants will know where they can find more info next time they have an issue. You can also connect merchants to your documentation straight from the online store editor with a Learn More link that appears in the theme or section settings. It's advisable also to conduct an audit of your self-serve content monthly or at least quarterly to ensure that both text and screenshots are up to date and not missing any key features. Here's a great example from Maestro, who have a dedicated help doc for their Prestige theme that shows a changelog of releases, as well as a list of easy-to-follow tutorials for common tasks that merchants may need. So there's several key benefits to managing your support well that help drive the success of your theme business. Preparing for the support burden with dedicated support means that other areas of your team resources dedicated to development and design have the space to react quickly to new trends, new features from Shopify. They can leverage new tooling, iterate on performance, accessibility, and any other areas that are a progressive enhancement for your theme. Support can also act as the best research that you can get. Merchant feedback, feature and setting requests, relevant use cases, live store examples, and feature adoption information are all notable elements that can help you iterate and improve your theme offering or even plan for your next theme. A robust support offering also boosts your reputation and branding. Just as a merchant might learn to associate a developer's branding with ease of use, a merchant also associates your branding with a pleasant experience in support, is more likely to recommend your theme to others or investigate other themes that you might have in the Shopify theme store. When organizing your support, consider using a customer management software like Zendesk or Help Scout. These can often allow you to set up workflows that help streamline or automate support tasks. By using a support management tool, you'll be able to easily triage queries as they come in from merchants and organize them in a queue system so that your team can quickly respond to merchants in a timely manner. If you have multiple people handling support, customer support software will also let you assign threads and alert you if two agents are replying at once. Additionally, using these tools will open up measurement and analytic opportunities, as they generally provide metrics and reports that will help inform and improve your customer service. Metrics such as average handle time, customer contact rate, and merchant satisfaction will help you make meaningful decisions that can enhance the experience both for your team and for merchants adopting your theme. Text expander tools can also be used to create custom keyboard shortcuts that can populate emails with common support requests and responses. When you're experiencing a busy period, such as when you launch a new theme or in the run-up to BFCM, it's very easy to rush a response and not communicate with the right tone and clarity. By writing thoughtful and thorough stock emails ahead of when you need them, you'll save time and ensure effective messaging. These can then be stored in a text expander tool to be easily shared with merchants. We'll be sharing more links at the end of this webinar where you can learn more about supporting your theme, but now it's back to Marcus to walk you through how to manage updates to your theme.
Next, we'll talk about maintenance and updating themes. So, after you've succeeded in getting your theme published on the Shopify theme store, you begin the iterative process of considering merchant feedback, persistently innovating your build through regular quality assurance and testing, and actively integrating the updates required by Shopify. A theme update is submitted for review as a zip file through your partner dashboard. This file is then reviewed by Shopify prior to being pushed to replace the current version, which is linked to the Shopify theme store. It should really go without saying that any zip file being pushed through has to be an iteration of the existing theme and has to still meet all requirements. As a Shopify theme partner, you are required to provide ongoing updates to your theme to remain on the Shopify theme store. The two main types of updates are those that are partner-led changes and those that are Shopify-required features and updates. The partner-led updates are generally bug fixes, general maintenance, designer and feature enhancements, and these are generally based on feedback, requests, or perhaps in-house development. And those updates can be further subdivided into mass upgradable changes and breaking changes. A mass upgrade is when a new version of a theme can be pushed to replace the pre-existing published version of the theme that all merchants have installed. However, mass upgrades will not be adopted by any theme versions on a merchant store that have had customizations to the code. Themes are mass upgraded by default by Shopify unless they contain a breaking change. A breaking change is an update to your theme that can cause other components of your theme to fail, revert, or break if pushed onto a pre-existing version of the theme. For example, changing a setting variable name in a theme would alter the theme, so it cannot be injected over a pre-existing version that has the legacy version of the variable name without breaking that on a merchant store. In this example, the settings would reset to their initial state and the merchant would lose any changes they had made. So, breaking changes shouldn't be mass upgraded. You can refer to the online developer documentation for more details and examples. Breaking changes are not a negative thing and are often very necessary. They can be pushed and accepted as the new version of the theme listed on the theme store for merchants to download from that point onwards. They cannot be mass upgraded to the existing merchants using the pre-existing theme version. Now, let's talk about urgent updates. Although many updates may feel highly important and urgent from your perspective, tagging an update as urgent should only be done when that update is to resolve an issue that is breaking the ability for the theme to facilitate the purchase flow. Urgent updates, I'll just state again, are those that resolve issues which prevent the purchase process. The purchase process is what a customer undertakes when making a purchase, starting from the product page and continuing through to the checkout through the dynamic checkout buttons, or continuing from the cart to the checkout through the checkout call to action or dynamic checkout buttons. As well as any updates you make for your own maintenance improvements, there will also be updates from Shopify that you will be required to make to your theme. It is obligatory that mandatory updates or features are submitted successfully by the deadline given. These will generally be new Shopify features, our improvements, and all of these will be listed in the feature section in the requirements documentation. There are some feature updates that Shopify will push that are optional, and you may reflect on whether these are something that makes sense to have in your theme. But any mandatory updates have to be integrated, as otherwise your theme may be delisted. It is also recommended that you consider allowing feature updates in workflows and sprints throughout the year. If there's no mandatory feature updates during a particular workflow sprint, then perhaps use this time for other updates or improvements. Some other important factors to note around updates are testing. The review team is not there to act as a secondary quality assurance service. If they pick up on issues with the update, it will be rejected and you will have to resubmit. We cannot emphasize enough about having your update fully tested and QA'd prior to submitting it through to the review team. If there are consistent issues with QA in terms of badly constructed updates with issues, this may affect your standing with the theme store. Also, think about separating minor from major. When submitting your own theme updates, such as general maintenance or bug fixes, it is best to separate them from potentially breaking changes, such as feature updates and large-scale development changes. Separating your routine fixes from larger updates ensures that your routine update is likely to qualify for mass upgrade and then will be made available to a greater number of merchants who have purchased your theme. Clear designer notes and versioning. It is vital to add notes to the update when submitting it for review so that the team can identify what the update is intending to change, add, or remove. To help the review team tackle your update with more efficiency, make sure to leave clear, concise notes about what the update is for. If it is for a Shopify feature update, make sure to outline this in the designer notes that you fill in when submitting the update. Also, use sensible, consistent versioning on your theme files. This could be important should a version need to be identified. This could also be useful in a changelog that you populate on your own website or in your own support documentation for merchants, so they're aware of what versions have what features, fixes, or alterations. Also, consider time zones and day of the week. When submitting your updates, consider the hours of operation of the team reviewing the updates, which will be in Eastern Standard Time, EST. This may impact when your update can be dealt with. Crucial updates are best submitted earlier in the week as well as earlier in the business day, as trying to push critical updates towards the weekend may mean that these cannot be dealt with until the following week. Also, making large changes to your theme before a weekend may mean that if there are bugs with the updates, then a fix may not be able to be pushed until the following week, and this means more and more merchants could be affected. And this in turn will put additional pressure on your support queues as you will have to tackle the issues one by one. It is highly recommended that you regularly test and iterate on your theme in order to be providing merchants with the best product you can. Browser compatibility, performance enhancements, accessibility improvements, streamlining of features and settings, improved UX are all areas to be monitored and are all ongoing concerns. Good housekeeping, timely fixes, and versioning improvements result in merchant satisfaction. That leads to good reviews, and this contributes to the success of your theme. After your update has been successfully reviewed and published, you will receive an automated notification email.
Thank you for those insights, Marcus. Now stick around and we'll be back very shortly for a Q&A session to answer all your questions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Q&A section of today's webinar. Thanks for tuning in today, wherever you are. It's great to be here with you today. It's been great seeing folks in the chat from all over the world, from India to Italy, all across America and Canada as well. It's great to have such a diverse group of people here in the webinar today. Big shout out to the folks in the chat too. Awesome to see so much activity, some familiar faces. Michael and Sasha returning from last week, I believe. And I hope you enjoyed the first section with myself and Marcus, exploring the various activities that you'd be working on after submitting to the Shopify theme store. Also, in case you missed last week's webinar, the recording is now actually on our YouTube channel. So if you search Shopify Devs on YouTube, you'll find it. And yeah, thanks to everyone who submitted a question today. I think there are still some questions coming in. Really like to see that. So thanks so much for submitting those. You can still submit them through the Slido link, and we'll try to get through as many as we can today. Just before we get started, we'll do just a quick intro around the table with each of the people here today. I'll start off. My name is Liam Griffin. I'm a developer community manager here at Shopify. Over the past few years, I've created a lot of technical content, blog posts and videos, helping team developers to learn about Liquid, how to build on our platform. And I'm really looking forward to working closely with the team partnerships team to provide developers with the resources that you need to build awesome themes. So today we're also joined on our panel by Michael Bedall. If you want to introduce yourself quickly.
Sure. Thanks, Liam. Yeah, my name is Michael Bedall. I lead the team partnerships team. Super excited to be here today with all you guys. I've been at Shopify for going on 8 years now. So I'm very excited to see the Team Story reopening again and looking forward to getting a lot of great new theme submissions from all you guys. And I will pass the mic to Marcus.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be back again this week. Great to see some of the familiar names popping up in the chat again. I see Charlene was first in, same as last week. Thanks for popping along. If for anyone who didn't see me last week, Senior Team Partnerships Manager at Shopify, been here for about 5 years. And essentially we look after the team partnerships section of the ecosystem, helping and curating the themes on the Shopify theme store. And with that, I'll pass you over to my colleague, Vince.
Thanks, Marcus. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Very exciting times for the theme store and a great opportunity for everyone. So I'm also a partner manager here at Shopify. I work closely with Marcus, Liam, and Michael. So I've been here about 4.5 years. We manage theme partnerships as a whole. We work very closely with the internal teams that touch all aspects of themes at Shopify.
Awesome. Great stuff. So as well as being one of the first people joining us today, Charlene also has the first question, who is so with this question, it's related to support. We kind of touched on this in a few different aspects in the webinar, but Charlene's asking, what sort of aftercare support should we offer customers who buy our themes? Vince, would you like to maybe expand a little bit on that?
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Charlene, for your question. Just as Liam touched on it during the presentation, I'll just lay out the land here regarding support and the sort of things you need to take care of as a theme partner. So first things first, every merchant that purchases your theme, you are responsible for supporting them throughout their journey of setting up their shop. But the sort of questions you need to be ready for, any sort of general questions on theme functionality, troubleshooting bugs, any technical issues. Obviously, we do not expect partners to be there to help build merchants' theme, but be there for any sort of technical issues that arise. Also, I just want to hit on the point that the importance of having good theme documentation is definitely a big aspect of having a good support experience for the merchant, as well as reducing support debt for your team. So we understand new partners coming in, they may not have as thorough documentation to start, but I would say definitely work your best to get a good foundation started, and then as questions come in, you can build upon your documentation over time. Just last point here as well, on something that you won't have to support is any sort of theme code customization requests. So that's not something that we expect theme partners to answer and help with, although you can set up your own, I guess, side business in a sense to do that if you'd like. So provide that as a service, a paid service. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of different aspects to that and a lot of opportunities for team partners to provide support services. We have a kind of a more technical question here from Derek, is wondering, I guess, more about the infrastructure of the Shopify theme store. When we submit themes to the theme store, where are those theme files hosted exactly? I think Michael, maybe you might have a little bit of context on that.
I can grab it. Hey, Derek, thanks for your question. So yeah, we host them in the theme store internally. That's basically that's the answer. If you wanted to offer more follow up or add more context to your question, then please do so. But yeah, host it in the theme store.
Just to add on to that, Mike. So when the theme is hosted, is it like hosted on just our CDN that where many of like our image files, for example, would be stored?
Do you know the answer to that, Liam? I would assume.
I believe it is. Yeah, I do also have I have a doc here. I'll put it into the chat too, just around the Shopify CDN and how that's set up from an infrastructure level. I'll post that into the chat here. It's from our developer documentation. It has a lot more context around that. So the next question we have is, it's actually paraphrased from the last partner town hall we had. It was one of the unanswered questions, but we felt it was definitely worth revisiting. And I think it also touches on a couple of questions that were asked already today. There's currently a few gaps on the Shopify theme store. For example, there are no right-to-left text themes yet. Are these the kind of solutions theme devs should be building for? And what are other examples like this? Marcus, would you like to maybe take that?
Yeah, no problem. I know I touched a little bit on this in the webinar, but yeah, I mean, identifying gaps in target areas is obviously a big, it's the driver for many themes, and it's something that needs real consideration if you want to make a theme that has a real chance of success. This also really means looking at what your idea is and seeing if in reality, if this is just a feature setting as opposed to an actual gap or what a theme should be focused on. There are themes in the theme store that offer right to left content orientation, but this is delivered through a setting. And essentially, that is what it should be, a setting for orientation. I mean, for merchants in regions that operate with right to left orientation, just that setting alone would not be enough to meet their needs. For example, the merchant store in those regions could be a pet store, fashion apparel, an electronics store. And they might have different needs beyond just a content orientation setting. They may require it, but it is not delivering their greater needs for their business type. So do think carefully about the theme's focus. So I would advise to really think on the business merchant types in those regions. For example, if you were, using that as a primary driver for one of the design considerations, but let that be part of the design and layout construct rather than the sole concept for the theme. As I mentioned in the webinar, the developer documentation gives some listings for industry types. I know I popped it into the chat there as well. But yeah, leverage client experience, feedback, requests you may have had, dive into support tickets, and do some research on the web into terms of what industry types seem the most prominent at the moment. But maybe, like I mentioned about Streamline, think beyond even the industry type. Think about the customer experience or the type of customer that a merchant might be aiming for. But hopefully that'll help.
Can I just add on to that, Marcus?
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the problems is the theme store, at least before Unite, it didn't really focus on how themes could market themselves. So there's very limited feature set and categories you could choose from. So it wasn't obvious that there was RTL settings or like themes that could do this kind of thing. I think in the future there'll be a lot more marketing opportunities, and with the new theme listing page, features like this will be able to be showcased much better. So again, I support everything Marcus said, just also adding on that there'll be more opportunity for themes to kind of showcase what they can do to merchants out of the box, rather than having the merchant go in and try to figure these things out by themselves.
Great point, Mike.
Great stuff. The highest voted question here is from Anonymous. It's around filtering. New filtering does not work with collections larger than 1,000 products. Will this change in the near future? That's something I can actually take. So yeah, this is a current limitation of collections, and specifically with Online Store 2.0 and filtering on collection pages. So the current behavior today is that if your if your product collection contains more than 1,000 products, then the filters are hidden on that page. I did speak to our internal development team just before this webinar to ask for an update on that, and they are looking to increase that. There's no exact date on when that will be actioned on. Please do keep an eye on the developer changelog though, so it should be appearing there. But we are looking to increase that limit is the short answer on that. So I'll go to the next question, which is I guess this is kind of, again, a little bit related to the industries that Marcus was talking about. And it's from Vladimir. And he's wondering what niches are the most in demand in the theme store now?
I'll grab that one, I think. Thanks, Vladimir. Yeah, great question. I think it's kind of a multifaceted answer. I think right now, if you look at the theme store, you'll see that there's definitely categories that are the most popular. Fashion, apparel, health and beauty, stuff like that. That seems to be where largest merchant segments. So I'd say that's kind of a popular choice as well. But if you're talking about kind of underrepresented industries, I would say probably electronics, sporting goods, toys and games, and animals and pet supplies. Those 4 industries right now seem to be where merchants are going off platform to either get themes outside of Shopify theme store or to customize the themes that they buy to fit those industries. So hopefully that answers your question.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's really worthwhile thinking, outside the box and looking at different opportunities. I'm kind of reminded there as well of Safe as Milk case study that we published a few weeks ago, where they interviewed like a diverse set of different merchants and kind of looked at what were the unique aspects that they were needing in their own industries, and then use that information to then inform their own designs. So definitely keep an open mind when looking to design for specific industries for sure. I have a question.
Could I just add one little thing, just to expand even
Of course.
just a tiny bit more on that as well?
Of
It's like
course.
even just in terms of, take for example the pet food store. You might literally go, okay, we'll build a theme for a pet food store, but one theme will not solve all the needs for merchants in that industry group, because one type of pet food store or a pet supply store could be a very large inventory, direct to consumer from a large supplier. Another could be a very bespoke, handcrafted type of theme or a store that's aimed at gifts for dogs, or it could be apparel for pet stores, so on and so forth. So there's definitely shades within those industries that can be catered for with themes.
Good point.
Really, really good point. I have a question here related to the theme review process. When we submit a theme for review, what is the ballpark amount of time before we can expect an initial first round of reviews?
I can take that.
Vince, yep, if you want to take that.
Yeah, thanks for your question. So it's kind of hard to gauge at this point. It will really depend on how busy our theme review team is. But let me tell you, the biggest factor of getting a response in a timely manner will be how thorough of a job have you QA'd your theme, and have you met all the requirements? If you've done a very thorough job of meeting every single one of our requirements, our theme features, all that implemented, along with a thorough job of QAing the theme, that should speed up the process. So I don't have a direct answer to that, but it'll be quite quick. So quite a quick turnaround, but the biggest factor is really going to be how many requirements you've met, as well as the QAing. So just keep that in mind.
Cool. Thanks, Vince. Another question that's in a similar space around the theme submission process. Do we need to send the document about the theme objective and its feature list before starting the production, which I believe is a previous requirement in the past? Marcus, if you'd like to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. In short, the answer is no. We don't need those anymore. Main reason is just to unblock, because I know this could be a subjective stage. But I mean, this doesn't mean you should skip this stage for your own project or for your own work. We do encourage that when you're developing a theme to make sure you research the target industry type and so on and so forth. General purpose themes that try to appeal to everyone tend to have no identity and lack focus. So this results in too many settings, affects performance. As I alluded to in the webinar, well-focused themes resonate with merchants better, and they do stand a greater chance of success. So just to confirm, the concept brief stage and mock-up stage for submission, we are not looking for those. But again, they are very helpful in terms of plotting out your theme plan.
That's really good to know. There's a sort of a connected question here from Tello around just that like submission process. He's asking, when we first send the theme for approval, is it in or out, or is is it yes or no, or do you send us feedback to improve in order to get submitted or to be successfully submitted in the theme store? So maybe you can just like unpack that a little bit more of that process of the initial early stage communications.
Yeah, I mean, at this particular point in time, we would expect that any themes that are coming in have been well researched. You've done your homework in terms of who you're targeting the theme to. What we really are looking for is everything that's outlined in the theme requirements. So we'll be looking for the performance, the accessibility, the feature sets, and all the other requirements that are listed in there. In terms of, assessing the concept and so on and so forth, we will be providing content, webinars, and other, resources like this to help guide. But I don't think we really have the bandwidth to be able to take an individual theme project and go through it in detail to sort of assess the merits of the concepts. We will just literally encourage to try and do as much homework as you can prior to the build.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's really good to know. Another question here, Marcus, that you might be the person to help us with here. More so on the side of theme requirements, are there specific language support requirements?
Well, naturally enough, there's the basic requirement that the theme is supplied in English US, but there are no other language requirements beyond that as of yet. There may be in the future, but definitely having additional languages is something that really helps in resonating with a larger international audience. And obviously giving your theme every chance with every possible merchant is, ideally what every theme partner wants to do. So, I mean, it's highly encouraged to add as many languages as you can. And obviously this can be appended to over time. And that could, be one of your theme updates, as we discussed in the webinar. So like performance, accessibility, language is something that's not industry specific, and it's not tied into business verticals. It's something that all teams can deliver on for a greater merchant benefit overall.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess just keeping on that theme of merchant benefit, there's a question. It hasn't been submitted to the Slido, but it's Michael's asked in the chat. Has there ever been internal discussion around changing the support model to a paid model after 30 to 90 days? I think maybe
I could touch on
Vince.
that. Yeah, I can touch on that. Thanks for your question. I was actually going to get to this in a short period of time here. So right now, support is free. We do not have a limit of, let's say, 30 to 90 days. There's no plans at this time. We have reevaluated the model of the theme store recently. So no, not in the short period, in the next, not in the near future. Let's just say that. Let me see here. Maybe I could touch on a bit more of that question as well. So essentially, yes, it is free support, unlimited for now. But like I mentioned earlier, so documentation is going to be really key. So a lot of the questions you're going to get are going to be very similar from different merchants. So as long as you're building out your documentation, you should really be able to set yourself up well, that you're not getting too swamped. But again, obviously support's going to be a big part of being successful in the theme store. And long story short, no plans in the near future of changing our model.
Yeah. And I think if you do visit the theme store and do look at the reviews, it's usually around support where merchants find most of the value, or a lot of the value, in the overall offering that theme partners deliver, and that's it really is something that can elevate their visibility on the theme store.
Just to add to that as well, you can offer paid services. So if you want to offer customization services, that is absolutely something you can do on the side. But we don't administer that through the Shopify theme store. So it'll be up for every agency to set that up on their own. So there is opportunity there to branch off this business, the theme business.
Just to maybe be a little bit more direct for the question. I know we can't give any solid answers, but yes, it has been discussed. The business model has been discussed internally before. And although I can't set any expectations for the future, like on when, it will be discussed again. So just keep that in mind for now. But
thanks, Mike.
Again, no promises, no expectations on that.
Cool. Maybe a shorter answer for this question. Dominic is asking, when will the theme submission period end? I think I can answer that in that we don't have any end date in mind at the moment, but we still do recommend that you submit as soon as you can, as soon as you feel you have a solid theme, that you are comfortable with it being in a solid place. Do submit that. But yeah, short answer, there's no end date that we have scheduled. I have another question on theme styles. So how many theme styles need to be present in a theme when you're submitting it to the theme store? And Marcus, maybe you might be.
Yeah, no problem.
Here.
Minimum 2, generally tends to be around 3. I think last we had, I think the maximum is 5 presets that we can have, but 3 is generally sufficient. But I would definitely say 2 is a minimum.
I think you could actually have 1, Marcus, but again,
yeah,
definitely not recommended.
Yeah,
3 would be the recommendation there, but I think you can actually publish with 1, if I'm not mistaken. Liam, do you know for sure?
I don't know, to be honest. I would have thought it would be 2 to 3.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, being able to give merchants, a bit of an idea of the scope of your theme. It is better to have, obviously, 2 or 3 options to at least see the ability to create a bit of versatility with the theme.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Interesting question here around the theme store and the further evolution of the theme store. Do we have any plans to update the theme store? Can you tell us more about maybe the vision? Also, any plans to include ads inside the theme store? I guess similar to the Shopify App Store. And that's a question from Sasha.
I think it would have been handy to have Sean here for those particular questions. Yeah.
Maybe could we link to the webinar from last week? That should answer a lot of those questions.
Yep, I can throw that into the chat.
Just like a quick TLDR, Sasha. Yeah, there'll be a lot of changes coming up. I don't think there'll be any advertisements in the theme store though, but a lot of improvements for listing your theme and some marketing improvements as well, tracking pixels, etc.
Cool. So next question. This is more of a technical question. I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not 100% sure on this. So this is from Louise. In the customization page, let's say images slideshow, should new themes change to the respected slide when a block is selected? I'm not 100% sure what's meant by that. Maybe, Marcus, if you have any ideas on that one specifically.
Yeah, all I can say is just refer to whatever's in the requirements that have been published. If there is anything specifically relating to that, I think now that there's the slideshow component will not be mandatory in themes anymore. So submitting themes that even don't have a slideshow are could possibly be an option as well. So in terms of how a slideshow is dealt with, so long as it's meeting our performance standards, accessibility, and meeting any of the requirements that are in the guidelines, I wouldn't see any other caveats beyond that.
Agreed.
Perfect. Yeah. And also, as far as I know, for slideshows specifically, I don't think there is a slideshow in Dawn. I could be wrong there, but it shows that you not every element will be needed in your theme. So definitely think around what kind of components that you're actually able to strip out, as much as what components are necessary to add. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So we're just over the hour mark on this. So I think we might answer just one or two more questions and maybe start just wind down for the day. I have a question here from Kate in the chat. Can we attach videos to our themes to help the end user use them?
Yes, I think the new listing page will allow you to have videos. So definitely.
Okay. Cool. So that's the videos on the listing page, but would you ever recommend, I don't know, having videos within the themes, or if there's a demo store that includes a video?
Oh, was that the question? In the demo store?
Yeah, they didn't specifically say that, but that's just something I'm wondering too.
And I think videos and demo stores are fine as long as they're I would probably avoid trying to be marketing your theme video in the demo store, because the demo
more
store
educational.
Yeah, it should showcase a real life merchant, real life store, to give the potential merchant the idea of what's possible, and not try to tell them how to use the theme or what the theme is about, because that's for the theme listing page to take care of.
Cool. And maybe one last question. We started with a question from Charlene. We might end on one from her. She's just asked in the chat as well, are there themes for digital products and downloads?
I can grab this. Essentially, one of the big things we have for themes is that it cannot rely on apps or other platforms to provide its core functionality. So in essence, digital downloads or any of those type of services will depend on an app to be able to provide the main functionality for that. So currently, as the way we look at themes, no.
I know I said that was going to be the last question, but this is the last one. Is just one I missed on the Slido. Vladimir is asking, what is the dependence of tickets on sales? How many sales per week would you receive with 300 tickets? Are tickets repeatable? I think with our tickets repeatable, a lot of that is around what Vince was talking about in terms of where there could be recurring questions and issues, and just having all of that documentation in place so that before a merchant even comes to your support lines, that they're actually able to find answers themselves. I think even Shopify's own help desk is a really good example of creating that filter where merchants are able to find questions and find answers before. But maybe just specifically to the, how many sales per week would you expect when you're getting around 300 support tickets? I know it's a really how long is a piece of string type question, but maybe there's some extra context that you can offer, Vladimir, here.
I'll quickly put my 2 cents. I don't think there's a lot of connection between tickets and sales. It probably, obviously there's, the more popular your theme, the more support requests you should expect. But at the same time, I see very popular themes that have really solid documentation, that probably have lower ticket numbers. So probably, I mean, if you're getting 300 tickets, so if it was it per week? But that seems like a lot. And
300 per week.
yeah, that would be hopefully translate into a lot of sales for you. But again, there's no guarantee there.
I'd like to add to that as well.
Sure.
So, when we pulled these numbers, we were really thinking about the current theme partners in the theme store. So just keep in mind, like many of them have been here for over 2 years. So they've made sales over like a 2-year period, and they've had to provide support. So yeah, like Mike said, it's really hard to align, tickets and sales. Obviously, let's say to start, you're getting, 20 sales a week. Let's just say, you're expected that over time you're going to get more. Your support will get busier over time. But again, like documentation is very key. And we can't really give a number of like, okay, if you make X amount of sales, you're going to get this many tickets. There's really not much of a correlation. It's more just we've had people in the theme store for over 2 years now. So obviously that's built up support over that period.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. No?
I don't think, anything really to add. I mean, it does speak back an awful lot to the quality as well of the theme. I mean, you may get like the other thing. There's two ways of looking at this. I mean, if you're getting volumes of support tickets in, a lot of these could be requests. So maybe it's something that you can look at your theme and go, we're actually missing this core feature because this amount of merchants are looking for this and we haven't built it into the theme. Or maybe you're getting loads of requests into that something isn't working and perhaps makes best to remove. So it could be a very valuable way of getting user feedback on your theme as well, and for making iterations and improvements and actually streamlining your theme to make sure it's resonating with the correct audience. So I wouldn't be fearful of number of tickets coming in if you view them in the right light in terms of going, we've every opportunity to give good merchant service here, get good reviews, or also to leverage this as feedback to help us make better iterations on our theme to either further our success even more.
I think that's really, really good advice, and it's a really great perspective to have in terms of support and how that can actually inform your own design decisions and improve your theme. So guys, thanks so much for joining us today. I think you've provided a lot of really valuable insights to the people that are tuned in. Everyone that's tuned in, thanks so much. Really great questions submitted. We haven't gotten around to every single one of those. I think there's a couple that just came in seconds ago. But what we'll try to do is we'll try to address these in the partner Slack channel that we have, the theme store channel in our general partner channel. We'll be able to add those and continue this conversation offline as well. Like there's so much to dive into that it's very challenging to do that in the short time that we have here. But yeah, thanks for tuning in today. We will be sending out a webinar survey following this to everyone that has registered. Would love to hear your feedback to learn how we can improve. We won't have a webinar next week, but we will be looking to return in the coming weeks to be able to share and just open up the theme store. We also do have some other new Slack channels that are the online store 2.0 in the general Slack. We also have theme store partners, and we have announcements themes too. So definitely do join those, and that's where you're going to be able to find a lot more information that we'll be sharing over the coming weeks. We've also recorded this webinar today, and we'll be posting that on the Shopify Devs YouTube channel, where the first webinar from last week is in there as well. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. It's personally, for me, it's been a blast being able to share and answer these questions. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what amazing theme submissions that we'll start getting in the coming weeks. So thanks so much.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone. Bye for now.